Wandering through your world, you might suddenly hear a heart-wrenching scream. But don't worry, it's just the flesh that hates incubator, which, if left unchecked, will infect the entire cubic globe. Paradoxical as it sounds. But how you can stop this horrifying flesh that hates? It's simple. Just destroy the incubator by any means necessary, and then burn the disgusting flesh with good old napalm. Of course, it's not as interesting as watching what happens if you let the flesh that hates grow, but I fear that the consequences of this decision will be terrible. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Let's start with the incubator. As soon as this creature appears in the world, it will rapidly spread SCP-610 infection. The monster is quite clever and will use every means possible to prevent its destruction. The simplest way to combat this looming threat is, of course, fire. It's incredibly useful in this mod, as it deals double damage to mobs made of living flesh. It also destroys blocks quickly, but cannot fully cope with the new biome. The incubator will try to extinguish the flames and inflict a guff effect on the player. This temporarily disorients you, and your whole body starts to tremble uncontrollably. Being near living flesh, you might accidentally touch one of the plants. This will give you the One of Us effect. The effect slowly deals damage, and if you die with it, there is a chance that your body will be forever under the organism's control. This is what happened to that pig over there. It was killed by the monsters, summoned by the flesh. Also, it's possible that a mob without its own version in a mod will die with One of Us effect. In such cases, it will turn into a piece of flesh, from which a random creature will eventually grow. The type of creature summoned by living flesh depends on its development stage. There are 6 stages in total, but visible changes occur during the stages of enlightenment and transformation. We start, of course, with the first phase, embryo. We're already familiar with the pig. Like all flesh puppets, it will try to destroy the player by any means. By the way, all creatures can get infected except for the creeper, who seems completely indifferent to the looming threat, but separate versions in the mod only exist for humans, villagers, sheep, pigs, cows, and a few other creatures that I'll mention later. All the listed flesh versions of mobs don't have unique abilities, unlike, for example, the infected dog. It can not only jump over fences, but also create its own clones. But if the original dies, the ability to self-replicate is transferred to the clones. The infection didn't spare the pillagers either. They bravely tried to fight alongside everyone, but fell in an unequal battle. A regular pillager turns into a flesh version with a crossbow, and a vindicator, who not only can break shields and doors, now also jumps at enemies, dealing double damage in the air. And here is this beauty, the flesh infector. It's likely the first creature you'll encounter when trying to destroy SCP-610. As its name suggests, it infects its victims and lunges at them in a terrifying manner, inflicting paralysis. This effect prevents you from moving or attacking, making it hard to escape the parasite. Its mutant friend can increase its own speed if it can't catch up with its victim, and this formidable flesh brood can absorb damage. If any flesh warriors within a 10-block radius is hit, the brood will take the damage. Now we tactfully skip the biogenesis phase, where the flesh monsters only gain some buffs, and move on to the Enlightenment phase. But wait, first let's review the item added by this mod. Firstly, there are 2 types of armor. Skeleton armor, when fully equipped, gives a 10% chance to block any damage. Flesh armor, on the other hand, grants regeneration, but at the cost of hunger. In battles against monster, fire is useful, but so is the flesh sword, which deals triple damage to flesh monsters. The axe quickly breaks flesh blocks. Any compass will take you defect if an incubator is nerdy. In this chest, I have the Historizer Revenge. It deals more damage than the flesh sword. These tools are very useful, as with each passing minute. The fight against the intelligent mid becomes more difficult. We've already seen the one that inflicts an effect, and here are the spikes that deal significant damage since even armor doesn't protect against their attack. In a distance, there's a small lake of thick liquid. That's pus. You'd better not enter it, or you'll get the decay effect, which quickly drains health and hunger. In front of you is the flesh spawner. It's at level 1 now, but you'd better destroy it immediately, since it summons monster of the embryo class. I don't recommend letting it reach level 2, as it will start creating larger creatures, and it's time to talk about them. During the Enlightenment phase, the incubator changes form, becoming more terrifying and dangerous. It can now summon more powerful servants. You're currently seeing one of them. This tall and very handsome gentleman calls himself Flesh Suffer. It's best not to engage him in close combat, as he inflicts level 5 slowness and simultaneously infects the player with decay. And now meet the Flesh Historizer. He is a formidable opponent, dealing significant AoE damage and capable of destroying low hardness blocks. But that's not all. Every third strike deals 1.5 times more damage. Wait a second, did you notice that abomination? That's the Flash Howler, and for a reason. When he spots his prey, he starts summoning random Flash brothers. Despite his repulsive appearance, he's actually harmless. But the same can be said for Flash Hunter. He's Angel and can trap an unlucky enemy in his first grasp. He won't let to until either he or his player is dead. By the way, he has a brother, also called Flash Hunter, but more advanced. He can't grab prey, but he can turn invisible at will. When attacking in this mode, he inflicts slowness and darkness. Next, let's look at the Flash Boomer. He has a rather unpleasant trait. He explodes, leaving behind a cloud with a decay effect. I think he had a bad roommate. And the biggest, or rather well-fed representative of the Flash race is the Flash community. As the Flash develops, it increases in health and attack damage. Also during an attack, if the creature isn't burning, it restores its health. For this reason, I strongly recommend bringing a lighter with you. Next, we move on to the build transformation phase, where the Flash introduces another minion. This is the Flash Unseen. She is blind but has excellent hearing. She also senses vibration if you move across pieces of meat. I think she has some similarities with a good friend of mine. Let's skip another stage, since there aren't any particularly important changes, except that you'll face even more challenges in battle. But wait, stop! I almost forgot to tell you about 2 more specimens. Hopefully you'll already subscribe. Otherwise, who am I even talking to? In a fight against the Flash, you may also encounter the Flash Servant. It's a hand that attacks all living things, inflicting paralysis. And here is a creature called Flash Justice. It sometimes appears after any of the Flash monsters die. It's likely a plant since it doesn't attack the player, but nurtures cocoons with other Flash minions. If you see it, try to destroy it immediately, because if you delay, it can grow up to 3 mobs. At the final stage, the battle against the Flash becomes unbearable. All creatures gain 100% immunity to damage. To neutralize this, you need to set the monster on fire. While it's burning, you deal double damage. Don't forget about the Flash Sword. It's also very helpful in fighting the Flash. Despite this, you'll most likely become part of the collective mind, unless of course you have some old-fashioned explosives in your pocket.